okay. Only if somebody will join me. After a while. So, all right. So, welcome to Secure West Virginia, HackerCon, whatever the term is they're using for it this year. Secure West Virginia, I know it is. HackerCon kind of went away a little bit, renamed, but still. My name is Adam Compton. I'm going to be up here talking about, Pentest fails. Hillbilly Storytime, that's just the title I use. Actually, that's the full title I use for a little video series I do on this whole topic that I'm going to be talking about today, which is going to be just me up here talking about some humorous for you all, hopefully painful for me, memories of some engagements or pen tests I've done or I've worked with colleagues on that have resulted. I keep pointing at you.
Don't point at me.
Him. No, I'm kidding. Only about half of them involve him. No, I'm kidding. It's just some mistakes that have happened over the years on pen tests, things of that nature. So let's just go ahead and get started in here. Since I'm talking about myself anyway, who am I? Well, yeah, that's my two little boys up there, 2 and 7 years old, so couldn't find a better picture I wanted to put up there. Could put a picture of myself up, but didn't feel like it, so I put my kids up there. So, I've been around in information security for a while, not necessarily out in the public all this time, but I've been doing pen testing, assessments, whatever you want to refer to it as, for about 18 years thereabout. I started full-time about spring of 2000. Prior to that, I was doing other IT-related work, doing sysadmin work, stuff like that, so I didn't really get into full-on security until 2000, so about 18 years of doing this. Excuse me. Over that time, I've been off and on doing development, whether it's small-time development for just quick little scripts, things like that, or writing tools for pen testers, or helping out rewriting other tools or on open source projects, stuff like that. That's what my background is in, actually, from university. I'm a programmer that had mathematics and all that as well, but I ended up doing pen testing, so yay for me. It's much more enjoyable for myself, at least. And, of course, doing pen testing. Currently, as the very first slide showed down on the corner, I work for Rapid7. Rapid7, as you know, probably does Nexpose, Metasploit, and many other things out there. They also have a pen test team. I'm a member of it. I've been there for a couple years now. So that's enough of that. But on top of that, yeah, I can say I'm a pen tester and all that, but more fundamentally, I'm a father, son, brother, husband, and the one at the bottom down there gets more laughs in places that aren't in the mountains already. So, like, I don't know, out in Vegas or in other countries, but when they don't understand it well. I was born in Pike County, Kentucky, and grew up there for the first 10 years of my life before we moved away. My family's all lives back there, all that. So it's just one of those odd, I don't know, comparisons, whatever. When you look at it, it's hillbilly, information security, stuff like that. Usually don't go well, but for the purpose of myself and the kind of stuff I do, I find it's a very interesting way to get people to open up and start talking to you, interact with you. Just come up there. It's a good icebreaker. Like, wait, what? You're a hillbilly? So you go talk to them. It helps if I'm not wearing shoes at the time, but nah, just kidding on that. But yeah, actually I don't like wearing shoes. I wear sandals all the time. So, what are pen test fails? And honestly, one of the first things that popped into my head when I was going to make this presentation was, what kind of talk am I going to do? Do I have any new exploit out there? Do I have any new tool I've created? What can I talk about this time? And then I'm like, oh, well, why don't I talk about all the things that don't result in some awesome new news or something like that? Because you go to conferences like this or Vegas or wherever, you go out on Iron Geek's website or YouTube, wherever, look at all the new awesome InfoSec videos out there. Vast majority of those are talking about this new exploit I just created or this new tool I just created. I've done some of those myself, I fully admit it, but I've also been in the audience looking up at some of these people talking about this going, wow, that's great. I can't do that. Or why isn't I tried that and it didn't work. What's going on? Am I not as good as they are? What's going on? They're the rock star. Of course I'm not that good. Stuff like that. But I'm like, but that's not true. It's just a matter of the fact that when we see people give these presentations, we're just seeing that one snapshot in time. We're seeing their success. You don't see the hours, months, possibly years that went into research and into development of whatever that tool or technique was. We don't see all the failures that they had along the way. We just see that one glorious end result. And since that's all we ever see, and we don't see the negative side of it, the long, ongoing process, we tend to internalize that a little bit. At least I know I do. Maybe some of you all do too. You look at it and go, wow, I'm not that good. I don't get those results. Maybe I shouldn't even try. No, always try it. Just go ahead and try it. You're going to stumble along the way, but you very well might end up at that nice end result, and you get up here and give talks. Even if you make mistakes all the time like me, you still get up here and give talks about making mistakes. And that's what I'm hoping to do today, is just talk about some of these mistakes that have happened over the years to myself, to coworkers, to friends of mine, stuff like that, as we've been doing Pentest. Like I said, I've been doing this for about 18 years, so I have a nice history of Pentest to pull on there about mistakes I've made. A lot of these are mine. Some of them are friends of mine, as I said, but just to share this out there, hopefully you can get some laughs out of you, or if it's amusing at least, that's great. But if nothing else, it just helps you understand that, my goal is that, helps you all understand that it's okay to make these mistakes. When I first started out, I was new to the field. Okay, I can make mistakes then. Been doing this for going on 2 decades. I shouldn't be making mistakes now, but the honest truth is, it doesn't matter how long you're doing something, you're going to make mistakes. Just not the same mistakes, hopefully. So yeah, you'll notice a different style to my slides too. I just throw up that and then I talk that. Yeah, let y'all read that. So when I first started out in InfoSec, it was kind of an oddity. I was supposed to be, I'd been doing some intern work and what have you for this one company. Finished up what I was working on before, and when I came back to work full-time at this company instead of doing the intern, co-op, whatever you want to call it, the office I wanted to go into didn't exist anymore. So I'm like, oh, but I have a job. They're like, yeah, you have a job. You just don't have an office to work in. Find you an office. So I hunted around in the company and came across a pen testing group in the company. I'm like, oh, that's great. Can I talk to you all about this? And then, yeah. So I ended up working there after about a couple of days of going back and forth with them. So I went into pen testing with no background in it, with no understanding of what I was getting myself into. Then I just got thrown in there. So one of the first things that happened to me was, on day one, I walk in, they give me my desk, they're like, okay, you see the big stack of old Spark systems and PC systems over there in the corner? Yeah. Build a lab. I'm like, what do you mean build a lab? Like, we each have our own little test lab on our desk here. You build yours. So luckily I had some background in doing Unix system administration, so I went ahead and built myself a nice little setup there. Built out a nice little network. Within the first 2 weeks, I'd say around the 2-week mark, I was actually thrown out on my first engagement. Luckily it wasn't by myself, I was partnered with somebody, but I kind of hit the ground running there, or got thrown into the deep end, or whatever term you want to use in there. Not all of us come from like pen testing, like experience, like you wanted to do this or you went through the training for it. Now, some of you are like this, you just get thrown into it and you either sink or swim. Luckily, I had a great team of people with me, mentoring me along the way and helping me and encouraging me. I admit, I know that not everybody has that, but hopefully if you do get stuck, you can reach out to the InfoSec community. It's a great community, lots of people out there willing to help out any way they can. There are going to be those little naysayers out there, but overall, I say the InfoSec community is really great about helping people out if you ask for the help. So I had my team working with me there. They mentored me, they helped me out. And then came to the time that I was leading my first pen test. On my first pen test, this is way back, 2000-ish. And we didn't have all the nice tools we do now, Metasploit or mass scan or responder, any of these nice tools that everybody uses now, we didn't have those at the time. We had nmap and system commands. Well, I was leading on this, and I had somebody helping me out, and so first thing we did was, okay, great. What do we need to do? Well, we need to do, it's an external assessment, first of all. We needed to scan the IP range. Well, they gave us a lot of different IPs, a lot of different subnets, and at the time, either Nmap didn't have it, or I didn't realize it had it, where you could give it an input file for the ranges. I put them all on the command line, which is fine and all, with the exception of the fact that at the time, it might still be, I haven't verified, the BNSH would truncate commands at a certain length. Forget what it was, 4096, 8192, whatever the length was, it would truncate it at some point. Well, we happened to hit that limit with this command line. And at the time, Nmap did this great thing where, as you can see there on line 2, where it truncated one of the octets, or one of the target ranges, at the second octet there, and started a little bit into the third, but just truncated it. Nmap had this great little feature that, well, if you didn't give it a full octet, full quad octet, it would assume you meant a .0/24 at the end and just help you out. Well, lo and behold, that doesn't equal the same range in our case. We kicked this off on a Friday. We left work. I'll go back and add in that I was working for the government at the time. That's the company I was working for, was a government agency. So we just kick it off on Friday. We go home. Division chief calls me up on Saturday morning, or late Friday night, I forget when it was now, but calls me up not too long after going, we just got a call from so-and-so motor company, and they're wondering why we're scanning them. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, yeah, you might want to come in. So went in. They'd already killed the scan and all that, but turns out that the IP range that we were supposed to be scanning was valid, but when it truncated it and redid it like this, it actually targeted the internet space of some motor company, a car motor company out there. Well, a little back and forth. What could have been a bad scenario there, the company was fine with it. Like, oh, no, that's fine. If you did scan us, that's fine. Did you find anything? We're like, oh, no, it's just a port scan. It's a port scan, but here's what we found. And they're like, okay. So it went off on its way. And I'm sitting there feeling horrible, mortified that on my first one, I'm leading myself. I inadvertently scanned the wrong target. I didn't understand the tool properly enough to do what I needed to do. But that's okay. My team lead for my little team I was on, the Unix team, came to me and said, it's okay. Everybody makes mistakes. Just learn from them and don't make them the same mistake again. And that 2 little sentences right there, or 1 sentence depending on how you hyphenate or whatever, ended up being sort of a motto for myself for anything I tried from there on out in my life. It's, if you make a mistake, it's okay. Everybody makes mistakes. Unless it's a fatal mistake. But yeah, you can't come back from that. But if you make a mistake, it's okay. Just learn from it and don't try to make the same mistake twice. It's sort of the thing like, you fool me once, shame on me. I mean, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, sort of thing. I know I said that completely wrong, but you know the phrase, so yay. But yeah, it's that kind of thing that first started out, I made a mistake, and from that point on, I made tons of other mistakes over the years. But this was an earlier one on, lots of people would probably make something similar when they first get started. So enough of the stories of me starting out. Let's jump into a different one right here. One that actually involves some friends of mine. Why don't you go ahead and read that for a second. Well, one of the things you tend to encounter when you're doing external pen test, external web app test, at some point you're going to come across an internet-enabled web camera. This one engagement a friend of mine was working on, I forget what the tasking was. I think it was like a university or something like that. He was testing it. He came across trying to get into this network. He couldn't get into it. Whatever he tried, nothing was working. Then one of the IPs in that range resolved to a web camera. So he went and checked it out. Couldn't get in on whatever he was trying. He looks it up, finds some default creds, gets in. Great, he's on this camera. Reverse creds or some trivial exploit that's known out there. He gets on here, and he's like looking, and the camera's like looking out a window. He's like, Oh, that's kind of weird. Oh, there's pan and zoom buttons here. Pan to the left. Pans around and he ends up looking at, he pans down, looks at a desk with some papers on it, pans up at a wall, and there's like a whiteboard up there with some writing on there. He's like, oh, that looks great. That looks like that might be a password. And as he's getting ready to write it down, it pans back to home, whatever home was, looking out the window. He's like, what happened there? He starts doing it again, pans it around, and after a few seconds of him leaving there, it pans back to the home. Again, he's like, or out the window. He's like, this is weird. He goes and looks it up on the internet. It's like, does this have like an auto rehome feature, auto home feature, something like that, whenever you leave it alone for a few seconds? No, it doesn't have that. So he keeps doing this. He's zooming around, panning around, zooming in on stuff, and trying to do it before it resets itself. He looks down at the desk, all this stuff. And it's just getting frustrating because every time he gets something, he's about ready to write it down, all that, it resets. So he starts doing screenshots and all this. After a while, he calls up the customer and says, look, or the point of contact at the customer, says, I found this web camera, I've been doing this stuff with it, blah, blah, blah. He goes, oh yeah, that's our traffic camera that's live on our website. He's like, oh, so, the room that's in, is that anybody's office? Like, oh yeah, it's like one of the IT guys who helped set it up. So he probably has sensitive stuff on his desk and on his board, right? Well, probably. Just so you know, I've been panning around and showing that to the internet already. He's like, oops. So it's just one of those things. He didn't know what this feed was going out to, stuff like that. It's a mistake lots of us could make. I know I've done one similar, and a scenario that I actually was part of. We were doing a external for a legal company, some sort of legal firm. I forget what it was offhand. But we're sitting here, we get the IP ranges. One of the first things we do, we scan across it, and lo and behold, several of them pop up as web cameras. We jump in there, same sort of thing, find default creds or an auth bypass, get in, we're looking at them. And as we're looking at them, at these cameras, we're like, wait a second, this doesn't look right. This is that looks like a hallway, and that's a cafeteria. That looks like I think we're looking at a school, like an elementary school here that has lots of web cameras. We're like, but we're not targeting a school. We're targeting a legal firm. So we call up the point of contact again and say, okay, we took the range you gave us and we looked it up, and we're seeing a lot of stuff relating to a school. He's like, well, what IP range is it? We read it back to him. He goes, oh yeah, we don't own that range anymore. We meant to give you this other range for the target. We're like, that's nice. Thank you. One thing we learned from this, and I've been doing religiously ever since, whenever the customer gives me an external IP range, look it up on Whois. Look it up on IANA. Look it up any way you want. Go to the websites, anything. Does it look right? Does it look like it's for the company you're targeting? If it does, great. You're probably safe. Go on. If it doesn't, call them up and verify. They're human too. They make mistakes. They copy and paste wrong. They read it off to you wrong. They retype it wrong. Whatever the case, they might copy in an old IP range that they don't maintain anymore, that they've released, whatever. But to save you the headache of having to go through your legal department to help make sure that that other website that you just hacked is okay with you hacking them, even though you don't have a contract with them, save yourself the headache of having to go through all that by double checking everything that the customer gives you as the scope and everything. It's also true on the internal as well, because if the customer gives you an IP range and then you go back to them like, are you extra super sure this is the range you want me to target? And they're like, well, we can pull these other ones out of there because those are our old legacy NT4 servers that can't ever go down. Why they have NT4, I don't know, but I see that enough. But so you double check with them to make sure everything's safe. And then moving on around, let's get into something a little different here. Let's not talk about external web apps at this point, or web cameras. Let's talk about some physical security here. Physical pen test, whatever you want to refer to it as. There was this one time I was doing a physical assessment for a company in Manhattan, which was a little oddity there. I have never been, this is like the first time I've ever done an assessment in Manhattan for internal pen test, whatever. First time doing an assessment up there, so I was a little nervous anyway. We get the IP range, we get the address from the customer, or I get it from our project manager who got it from the customer at some point along the line. I didn't verify anything, and that's where the issue comes back. So I have this address. One of my coworkers with me who's there doing something else. It's like, oh yeah, I'll accompany you up there to help scope out the site. So we go up and we scope out the building. We're looking at it. And it's like, okay, this is kind of weird. It's all the way across the block. So we're taking pictures, walking around, taking pictures of the loading dock, walk around to the other side of the building, and the large, scary security guard that was standing at the other side of the building originally is now at this side, staring at the window, staring at us. I'm like, okay, this is kind of creepy. So keep doing our stuff and walk away. A little bit later, I wait until evening comes. I walk back to the building. I sneak in. With some delivery people, all that, I make it through security. I get on the elevator. I go up to like the third floor where the customer told me that their floor was like floors 3, 4, and 5. So I went to third floor. I get off. Tailgate right behind somebody, get through their security door, so it's all going perfect. I love this, other than the creepy security guard downstairs, or the scary one, I should say. But I'm in there, I'm walking around, and at this point is when it starts dawning on me. The letterhead on everybody's document doesn't look right. The big sign on the wall that says "Welcome to" doesn't look right. That's not my customer. Back out of there. Go down, look at the outside of the elevator there where it says what floor. My customer's name is nowhere on there. Okay, so I back all the way out, call up my project manager. What's going on? This is the address you gave me. He goes, oh yeah, that's the one I have. After a little bit of back and forth with the customer, oh yeah, they moved out of that office 6 months ago. They're in another location now. So yeah, I just committed breaking and entering into a building midtown Manhattan. So after that, got the right address, went and did that, did the whole happy thing. Customer's happy. Yeah. Luckily, nothing bad came of that, like me in jail or anything. So, next one along the lines with that, with physical, is, in this one, we actually had the right target. Another coworker with myself here, we were going around, had the right target, we snuck in, managed to get our way in, sneaking around, checking logs, found the comms closet, plugging stuff in. We're doing great. We set our stuff down right there at the comms closet. Right outside of it, there's a door that goes out like smokers might use, something like that. So we set our stuff down. We're like, I wonder. We open the door. We're going to try to stuff something in the door there so we can sneak back in. I walk outside. I'm out there. I'm like, okay. I turn around. I hear a click. My friend is standing outside with me. Did you fix the door so it will open? No. Did you? No. Great. So we're outside the building, locked out now, with all of our gear on the inside of the building that we need to get back into the building. It took a while. We managed to get back in there, get our stuff, and get out there and run, and we moved on. But end of the story is we actually did succeed to do everything. It's just one of those things that it's like you have that moment of just panic. You're there like, oh, that's great. I don't know what we're going to do now. Hopefully there's somebody we can still get in by, trick somebody to let us back in, because we got in, the standard sort of thing, convince somebody to let us through, blah, blah, blah. But now it's, well, after that time, and yeah. But we got back in. A little bit of a panic story there. But it was all fun, and that comes back to a scenario later on I'll talk about again with, if you have one means of access into a building, always get a second, in case you screw up that first one and you lock yourself out of the building or lock yourself out of that first wave. But we'll talk about that more later. Many, many years ago, there was a case where I was working for a company that, for whatever reason, loved selling one-day external web apps. Not sure why. They loved it. But we took it in stride, and we did the best we could on those. I'm sitting there, I got an external web app, I can't remember if it was mine or a coworker of mine. Either way, we both ended up working on it. And we're just testing and testing. Can't get anything. We're almost at that cusp where we think we can get it. We can't get it. And then about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we get access into the system. We get through SQL injection, whatever the case, remote code execution. Can't remember, it's not that important, but we get access in there. We can issue commands, and sometimes we can get results back. Sometimes we can't. It's really hit or miss. We're not sure what's going on there. It's like something's blocking, maybe, I don't know. We're like, oh man, we're scratching our head. we are at this for a couple more hours. We're like, we're going to get this. We're going to show this customer that in one day we can do all this. So it is now dinner time, and we're all tired. We've been doing this since 8 a.m., and we're like, oh, there has to be a way we can do this, and we're trying different things, and it's really hit or miss. It's like there's two different kind of systems we're targeting. We didn't know what was going on. Are we through a NAT connection or what? One of the intern walks over and goes, what's going on? We explain the scenario to him. He goes, so it sounds like what you're saying is something's being on the remote system or the target system is like filtering the results or logging like that. We're like, yeah. He goes, well, you know that like the Windows firewall logs everything that it tries to block and all that, so you can look at those logs. Well, it's not enabled. And he goes, well, just enable it, and so you can see what's going on. We're like, okay. And as soon as we type it in, the command that would initiate or that would start the Windows firewall, hit enter, any kind of connection we had on that system just disappeared. At which point we do a massive facepalm, because the one system that we had access to, or the system we had access to, one way we just locked ourselves out of because of one of many things. One, like idiots, we blindly entered the command that the intern told us because, number two, we were extremely tired. So it's one of those things that if you're doing anything when you're very tired, you're more likely to make mistakes. Whether it's using power tools, it's hunting, it's pen testing. Yeah, you get in that groove, you want to do it, but you start making mistakes. And two, when you are in such a state, don't blindly enter any command the intern tells you, because, well, they might be accurate or they might be a complete idiot, like in this case, and you as complete idiots follow their commands and lock yourself out of the system. At which point we're like, oh yeah, I'm sure it's logging everything now, but we can't do anything with it, so we pack up, go home, say goodnight. It's just one of those. It's funnier if you were there because we're all delirious at the time when you're doing it, and yeah, we're pissed and delirious and laughing, and yeah, it's just a bad scenario around. But it was a one day, so we can't go back the next day and try to fix it, so it was done. So moving on into a little different kind of stuff now, going into a little bit of social engineering, email social engineering, phishing, if you will. Passed to me from a friend of mine, this story. So this one, not mine, passed to me from a friend. I'm pretty sure. I might be remembering that wrong. It might be me and I just block it out. But still, so there was this phishing engagement. Customer said, please do a phishing engagement for us. We have 200 people we want you to email. You can do multiple campaigns, different kind of scenarios if you want. So they decide to break it into two groups, 100 and 100, two different kind of scenarios. First one, they work it all out. They get it all queued up. You have your primary person and your secondary assistant on the project, intern, analyst, whatever. The primary person told the team lead told the analyst, help set it all up, write out a good story, all that. I'll prep everything else. We'll be good to go when it's time. And so at that point, they have it all set up. They hit the button. It sends the 100 emails, instructs the people to go to this website so they can hack them, they can capture their creds, whatever the scenario was. They're sitting there watching, waiting for results to come in. Nothing's showing up. They wait a little longer. They wait 15 minutes, half an hour. Nothing's happening. They wait for about 2 to 3 hours, I seem to remember, and nothing's coming back. They're like, what in the world is going on here? So they're like, well, let's test it ourselves. So they go, oh, no one thought to start the website. They sent the emails instructing people to go to the website, and then the website wasn't open, so everybody's getting 404 errors, or host not found, or whatever the scenario was. It wouldn't be a 404, but still, same concept. The website isn't there, so like, oh man. So if we send another set of emails to the same people, yeah, we probably burn those. So let's go ahead and jump to the second scenario now. So they're like, okay, let's make sure everything's set up. The intern set up all the phishing payload, stuff like that. The email, the content of the website, the other analyst or the other consultant there's like, okay, went to the website is up and running, we're all good on this, hit enter. It says off another 100. Well, they're sitting there waiting. Oh, one result came back. Great. 15 minutes later, another result came back. This is really slow. Like, they're typically used to much higher results coming back. They're getting like one every 10, 15 minutes. Maxed out about like 10 of them total out of the 100 they sent. Not sure what's going on, so they went and checked it. Website's up, captured everything. And then that's when the team lead on the project looks down and says, "Where did you get this phishing email at?" The intern says, "It's from the last one I ran." Well, did you change anything in there? No, why? It worked. It has a different company name in there. It says something totally different. It's referring to legal forms, and this is a cooking company or food related company. He's like, "Oh, yeah, sorry." So, in that scenario, they did manage to turn that aspect of it around a little bit, because other than the massive failure that resulted in that, and you can't send out the phishing emails again, not easily within the time frame, but there could have been some things they could have done. But what happened was that they ended up finding the silver lining there, writing up the report that's saying, okay, even in the scenario that it is an obvious phishing attempt with the wrong company name and information, it's still 10% of your employee population by sample still fell victim to it. So they tried to spin it and hide their mistake in that, but I don't necessarily agree with the hiding your mistake, but trying to find a positive solution or positive outcome for whatever you did, still great. So it's kind of things like that which I look back at now and laugh at those kind of things, but at the time you're panicking about it. So I'm going to bring this to a close here pretty soon, but then I'm going to follow it up with a bunch of question and answer with everybody, or I have hundreds and hundreds of different stories in my head that if somebody wants to hear a particular type of story, I'd be happy to share any kind of story I can that I'm authorized to. But if anything you learn from this, it's that always double check everything. If it's something that you wrote down yourself, you copied and pasted it over. If it's something the customer gave you, if it's something you're sending the customer, double check everything. Measure twice, cut once sort of concept. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. That's probably true with all of life as well. But in pen testing, we all have that gut feeling. Like if you're looking at something, it just doesn't feel right, or as you're testing something, you're like, I'm not sure. Stop. Go double check. Make sure everything looks right before you continue. Never rely on just one access vector. If you only have that one way into a system, don't do anything that will jeopardize that. If you've got access into a building, don't lock yourself out without having another way in, leaving somebody on the inside, something like that. And ultimately, the one that isn't up there is, it's okay to make a mistake. As people who know me and have known me over the years, have worked with me, they know I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. But I don't let the mistakes stop me. Going back to the motto sort of thing I stated there at the beginning, don't make the same mistake twice. Everybody makes mistakes. It's okay. So anytime I encounter something like this, I try not to let it really stop me. I just let it go, learn from it, and move on. Now, you're going to say that every once in a while there are those kind of scenarios, those mistakes that are just so catastrophic, so damaging, that you're like, how do I move on from this? It's just a brick wall. You slammed into it. Maybe it's something that you're fearing is going to cost you your job or something like that. There's always that possibility that that's going to happen. Hopefully, the people you work for will understand a little bit and move on, but even if that is what the scenario is, you lose your job or whatever, fine. Stop, take a step back, regroup, and then start looking for those small wins until you can get your momentum back up and that you can get back out there and doing what you want again and you keep moving forward. Don't let it stop you completely. If something tries to, stop and think about it and then move forward. Even ever how slowly you have to move forward, still just move forward and continue on. Don't let mistakes put an end to your desire to move forward and stuff like that. Just learn from them and keep going. And then, of course, in closing, just remember, it's okay to get out there and do what you want. Make those mistakes. As one of the quotes said, unless it's a fatal mistake, you can always learn from it and move on. But in those cases, at least the people around you can learn from it. but still. Comments, questions, thoughts, if you want to reach out to me, there's my contact info. And as I said, I'll be open to any kind of people sharing their own stories or sharing additional stories that I have plenty of. And if anybody would like to request a particular kind of story or want to know how I would if I have had a particular scenario happen and how I handled it, I'm fine with any of that. If anybody has anything that they want to ask. Around? No? Yes, sir.
Something you come across that people just commonly fall for every time it blows your mind.
Oh, so sort of like something that we do as a win every time. Okay. Well, if you're for social engineering, let's say, something that we do as a win that's pretty easy is, depending on the time of the year, if it's toward the end of the fiscal year or beginning of the calendar year or something like that, you can always put out an email or something like that, or a phone call, insinuating that there is a training that they need to get done before the end of the year so that they're still compliant, or they need to go fill out this one form to do their, to ensure their health benefits for the next year, or something like that. Something that is coming out to all of us. Like, do you want to, like, you get a training in your email saying, you must complete training XYZ to be, everybody's like, fine, I'll just go do that real quick, get it out of the way. And it's one of those things, it's sort of like the little dialogues that pop up, like, yes, go away, I'm done with you, shut up. Things like that, people tend to fall victim to that a lot. If you send them an email from a throwaway account trying to phish them, then you follow it up with a phone call saying that, hey, I'm with IT or security or whatever. We just detected that you received a malicious attack in form of an email. We're here to try to help fix that because it looks like it might have damaged your system. So there you're given a context followed up by somebody trying to help them, and they're more likely to fall victim to it depending on the scenario, depending on the customer, things of that nature. I'm sure there's thousands of other ones out there. Those are ones that I find that work fairly well. So, anyone else? Anybody had any catastrophic failures of their own they would like to share? No? Well, I've got one right here I can possibly show real quick. Hold on. Where did that go to? No, I'm kidding. Yeah, sounds off. No, I'm kidding on that. But yeah, so it's one of those things that if you want to, where's that Pentest review? Does it go to the end again? Yes. So I'm always available out there if people want to talk to me offline, if they want to do whatever, that's fine. My main thing here is that it's really to share that out there with the audience, with the InfoSec community, and with the community as a whole, is that it's not just those awesome wins that you hear about on videos and at conferences that make up this industry. Vast majority of the industry is people making mistakes and learning so that you can get to those nice wins and those successes and all that. Most of your time is going to be involved making mistakes. Maybe not these particular mistakes, and hopefully these haven't happened to you, but this is just a sampling of the kind of things I have encountered over the years. So if there's no other questions, I'd like to say thank you to all of y'all for having me here, and hopefully you're going to be learning from your mistakes out there, so thank you.